What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Matt Ramage Show. All right, presented by Quick Trip, as always. All right, I have a really cool guest today. All right, people. A little bit different than what we do usually on this show. Usually, I'm just buzzed up, which I ain't gonna lie, I am a little bit. But we got a serious, I wouldn't say a serious conversation, but Packers history, people. All right, Packers history. Let me bring this up here real quick. My guest today is Daniel Zillmer from PackersHistory.com. All right, he's a really cool guy because I've been following him for a while, and he seems like he knows everything. But without further ado, let's just bring him in here. All right, people, let's learn about little Packer history today, people. What is up, man? How are you doing, Daniel?
Doing good. How you doing, Matt?
I am good. So first of all, what do they call you? Do they call you Daniel or do they call you Dan? Because we're friends now, so I want to talk to you like your friends do.
Yeah, right. So at work they call me Dan. So my family calls me Daniel. So I think you should be calling me Daniel. You know.
All right, because we're family now. We're family.
Yeah.
We're family. All right. So yeah, usually on this show, I'm usually just a little buzzed up, ranting and raving about the Packers. But I want to let everyone know real quick before we get started on this. We're not going to talk about the Packers and like what's going on for free agency. We're not going to talk about Kevin King. We're not going to talk about these things. Today we're talking about Packers history. I want to learn something because I know a little bit about Packers history, and not like you do. You said Dan, right? Dan. You know, what did your family call you?
Daniel. But
Daniel. No, I'm calling you Daniel. That's what it is. I got it written down. The whole mental chamber. No, but so Daniel, you're you know a lot. Like I know the basics. I know that at some point the Bears helped the Packers financially. I know that. I don't actually. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know a lot. I wouldn't even say the basics. I know some stuff. I read some stuff at some point. I went to Green Bay East High School, and so like I remember I ran the track. I was on the field. I didn't run very fast, but I was there. And but I want to get into this thing. And people, if you're commenting, all right, and you have questions about like the Packer history, like the stuff we're talking about, I'll bring it up here and we'll ask them. And dude, I think this could be fun. I think it could be a fun thing that we do it every now and again and talk about different players like Paul Hornung. I think is very interesting. Like Ray Nitschke. I was one of the first people to walk across the Ray Nitschke Bridge. I rode my bike across it because it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I worked at Perkins Restaurant in Green Bay, and they've been building this bridge for like ever, right? And then you can never go through it. So one day I was riding my bike. I was going home at like 5 in the morning, and they just let me through. So I think I was one of the first people to cross the Ray Nitschke Bridge.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah. And I hold that even though there's probably a lot of people, contractors and all these type of people who built it, probably walked across it before I did. But I was one of the first people who had nothing to do with the bridge to get across. But anyways, let's get into this thing. Everyone, meet Daniel Zillmer, PackersHistory.com. Everyone, be sure to check that out. You have a really cool website. First of all, before we get into that, all right, how did you get into this? Like how do you know? Like so much. Like how did the website start? The social media stuff. How did you just start saying I want to show everyone, tell the world about Packers history?
Sure. So about 2012 or so, I started blogging and writing for a couple different sites. Not going to name any here, but you've heard of a few of them. You know, smaller like little blog sites and all that. And just kind of cutting my teeth there. Getting stuff featured every once in a while. And then it just basically got to the point where I was kind of sick of, just writing for clicks and making other people money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I was living in Chicago at the time and just writing full time, like working 70, 80 hours a week, because it was all about the clicks, clicks, baby. And I was so sick of making other people money that I decided to start my own site and make no money. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And I've been enjoying it a lot more. Like, it's just fun to not have a deadline. No one telling me what to do. So I have an idea. We write it whenever we want. You know what I mean? I don't answer to anyone. So, but then just years and years of research, watching things, reading things, endless books. My stack of Packers books is as high as can be. And it's just kind of led me here.
Yeah, no, I love it because I've actually, first of all, shout out to Austin. Thanks for tuning in, Austin. But I've actually asked you questions. Like I DM'd you because like I would tweet things and Facebook stuff, and I want to be factual. I want to make sure that I'm right. So instead of Googling it, I was like, I'll just DM this guy because you seem to know so much, and I think you're more dependable than Google. You've never steered me wrong. You know all the things. So I want to get into this. All right. So I used actually I'll get into that later when we get to that point because I got a little history myself, all right?
There you go.
But, like, how were the Packers started? Like, what was the first conceivable part of the Packers football team? Like what was the beginning, like, obviously there was some kind of, like, rugby-type football team, like, or, like, some, I think I read somewhere that it was, like, just a regular, like, a local team. But anyways, you tell me, like, what was the first instance of the Packers team?
Yeah, so let me kind of like set the stage here, if you don't mind going back in time a little bit.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I kind of want to get across here too, and it's kind of always present when we write, is people think about the ancient Packers, and they think it's like ancient history. They think it doesn't matter. They think it happened so long ago. You know what I mean? Hey, Mark. What they don't understand is that Sister Jean, you know, everyone's favorite Catholic, she was born 10 days after the Packers were created. 10 days, and she's still alive. That's one human.
Whoa, that's
one freaking lifetime.
Yeah, so that's one human ago, and actually not even because a human's still going.
It's one human ago. It's so when people like dismiss it and they're like, oh, you know, Arnie Herbert, he doesn't mean anything. Johnny Blood, oh, you know, it does matter. I mean, it's one human ago. So kind of off that note, we're going to kind of go back in time a little bit. So
all right,
I would take us to 4 years before the Civil War, or 4 years after the Civil War ended, right? That was the first ever game in 1869 between Rutgers and I believe it was Princeton. So there's the first time organized football had ever been played. Like they played like that brutal rugby style that you're talking about. And they played it too. I mean, the first organized football was also just as brutal and ruthless. I mean, we're talking like blocking wasn't invented yet. They just went and crushed each other. So when the first like game was ever played between those two teams, Packers were still 50 years away from being created. So organized football predates the Packers by 50 years.
So they were just, dude, I can't imagine like what that was like because like I haven't, you see old clips, but like just imagine 50 years before that.
Yeah.
Like what they were doing. Like people were getting handicapped for free. And like not even free because they were playing for basically free 50 years later. I mean, within reason, like it wasn't a living. So, but like at 50 years earlier, they probably didn't even have helmets. They were just, it was like third grade, you in your backyard in a snowsuit playing in the snow, but you were really getting hit.
Yeah, picking up your little brother and smashing him on your
Dude, I remember playing. Yeah, but yeah, so for 50 years, they had organized football. Like, that's something I didn't know. And that's probably going to be a trend as we talk of things I didn't know. That's number one.
Yeah, so like that's when like the 1870s, 80s, and 90s. That's like when college football started to like really come about and started to become king. So and it was in those days that it was all amateur football. There was no semblance of professional football, of course. And then it slowly migrated from the Northeast toward the Midwest. The game, that's how football moved. And when it hit Western Pennsylvania, like Pittsburgh area, that's when it first became a professional game when they started paying people. They paid one guy, one of the two Pittsburgh teams that hated each other. They paid him $500 to play in one game, which back then, that was more than your entire salary.
What year was that?
I think it was 1892. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because you think about it, because I watched Little House on the Prairie a lot, right? I grew up on that thing. And it was like 80s during that show.
Probably.
And Charles Ingalls would have done about anything for $500.
Right.
So, and actually, during that show, Albert Ingalls, I'm not trying to get into Charles Ingalls, Little House on the Prairie here, but they were playing football in that show.
Oh,
that's how I knew that it was a thing back then. I mean, I don't know how factual that show is, but
incredibly factual.
Yeah, but Albert Ingalls was playing football. He got hurt. It was a whole thing. I don't want to get into. I'm not going to turn this into a Little House on the Prairie show. But yeah. So I kind of knew that it was back then. I didn't think about that until now. But yeah, that's crazy. $500 at that time could have bought a store, probably a house. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. 10 houses. I don't know. Yeah, so professional football he was paid in secret, but everyone knew it. So, it's like an open secret type thing.
So that's kind of like open the gates for this is a profit. Like we can make some money on this. Obviously, it didn't get to that level that it is now overnight. But that was the first maybe trace of money changing hands.
Right. And so we're still in this timeline. We're still 27 years away from the Packers forming. We're still 27 years away. So that's how long this amateur, semi-pro, and then very sloppy pro football was, just kind of trudging along.
Yeah, that's wild. So do you know the first trace of football? Do you know is it documented who invented it?
Well, if you want to get crazy, in the Odyssey, they make some comments about people playing with a ball. They could have been playing football back then, but no, it has its roots in Europe, in just kind of the rugby thing.
Yeah.
Just playing with a ball, picking up a ball and trying to put it over a line, basically.
Yeah. Which is funny because it's American football. So if that's where it started over there, and they're we don't like that, we're gonna call it soccer. Football, right? Soccer. The whole opposite thing.
Yeah, I think it truly became American football when with the forward pass. You know what I mean? That's where it really becomes what it became.
So, skipping ahead, so when was the first team like Acme Packers playing? Because I went to Green Bay East High School. When was I think that was the first place they played. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but that's what my teacher
was huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did it skip ahead to that and get to the Packers in Green Bay?
Right. So you'd be getting to about the whole time from the 1880s, probably right up until that 1918, you had teams getting together that wanted to be pro or kind of had ambitions to be semi-pro. They liked playing football. Basically, they were mill workers and railroad workers that just got super wasted and wanted to hit each other.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, right. But at least now it's they're not going to go to jail because you're doing it during a game. Everyone signed up for this. So yeah, every single year in Green Bay, teams were put together. No different than the way that Lambeau did it. It's just that one stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So before we go on with that, because Mark has a good comment here, and it's something that I was talking to people. The oldest teams in the NFL history, in the NFL today, it's the Packers, Bears, and Cardinals. I think Cardinals number one, right?
Yeah, they I believe it was 1898 they were formed. The Cardinals.
And number two, is it the Packers and then the Bears, or?
Yeah. So there are people out there that claim that the Packers should have ownership over it all because teams similar to them in that area were playing since the 1895. But yeah, it would be the Packers 1919 and then the Bears 1920, and there you go.
So the Packers beat the Bears, and that they beat them into the league, and they've been beating them ever since, except through the 70s and the 80s. But we don't talk about those years.
Yeah, the lean years. That's a little yeah.
So where's the first place that the Packers played? I wouldn't say let's go to 1919.
Yeah.
When they first were, because that is when they were first a real, because it wasn't the NFL then, was it?
No. So 1919. So to put it in proper context, Curly Lambeau is he's a star athlete. He goes to Notre Dame as a freshman. He's already going to be making a name for himself. He gets bad tonsillitis, and he can't go back for the next semester. So he stays home. He gets what he considers to be an awesome job at the Indian Packing Company. And imagine this. So it's 1918 turning into 1919. Imagine your Lambo. He's 21 years old. He goes up to his boss and he's like, "Hi, you know how we have that pandemic going on and we're only a couple years removed from World War II? Can I have $500 for a football team, for equipment and jerseys?" And his boss is apparently just like, "Yeah, great idea." Love it. I mean, the guts to be 21 years old and to like walk up to your boss and ask for that. You know what I mean?
So what year is this?
1919. Yeah.
So you said World War II.
Oh, World War I. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. First of all, because I don't know anything about World War One, so I was like, I think he means World War One, but I know World War II, but I don't know World War. I'm a little buzzed up, people. But because I heard it because it was a Green Bay or the Acme Packaging Company, right?
Yeah. So Indian Packing Company was the initial sponsor, I guess you'd say,
Right.
and then they actually, I think they went under or they got absorbed by Acme Packing Company.
Oh, okay.
They kind of took over ownership of the team or sponsorship, I should say. And they're actually an Illinois-based company. So that was a little brutal to find out.
Yeah, that is fun. So how did the Press Gazette, the Press Gazette had a big, is that further along the line? I don't want to jump ahead.
It's pretty much right away because he apparently just ran into George Calhoun, who ended up being the co-founder, and was kind of telling him, I still want to play football, but he's not going back to Notre Dame. And then Calhoun actually kind of told him, "Hey, you should actually start a team here." And he said, all right, I will. And then Calhoun had so much pull within the newspaper that he put out the initial press release to find players. And then just all along the way, that's one of the, I think I have 6 main tenets on why the Packers stayed, how they made it, you know what I mean? And didn't fold like all the other small teams. One of them is Calhoun, the propaganda machine. You know what I mean? If you own the paper, I mean, you can.
Oh, that for sure.
Especially back then, there was no other source of information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't have Twitter back then.
No. Thank God.
Yeah, so because I used to have a paper route, which obviously everybody or most I would say 65-70% of people used to have paper route, but I had a paper route as an adult.
Nice.
And as a kid, I'd my paper routes. But but as an adult, I had a paper route, and I used to go to the Press Gazette, and I used to work 6 at night till 2 in the morning. And at 2 in the morning, I would drive straight to the Press Gazette. I would go inside. I'd get my papers ready. I'd put them in bags if it was raining. I'd get them all ready. It was like a side gig. It was like for Christmas money.
Sure.
And it was like the old paper machines were still up there. They didn't use them anymore. In the movies, when the papers are flying above their heads and all that. And there was things about the Packers in there because they didn't remodel. They're just this is just it. We're just gonna leave it like this.
That's sweet though. That's awesome that they didn't.
Yeah, it's actually a historical thing. But that is where the Packers were founded, right? In those offices, not in that room.
Yeah.
But they're offices in that building. I remember thinking at the time, as I was doing this paper route, thinking, why am I here at 3 o'clock in the morning getting these papers ready? What am I doing in my life? But so that is where it all went down. In the Press Gazette building, because that didn't change it. It's on the corner. It's right down downtown Green Bay. That is where the Packers were founded, and that's where all the paperwork happened.
Yeah, in one of the editorial rooms. Yeah, it became official August 11th, 1919, and Sister Jean was born 10 days later.
So let's break this down for because every team has an owner. Maybe back then they didn't all have owners. I'm not sure if there was some community base. But how did it come that the Packers didn't have an owner? At one point, was there an owner? Was Curly Lambeau the owner at one point, and then it changed? Or I don't understand that part.
Yeah, I guess you could kind of slot him into that role, but it wasn't official. You know what I mean? Nothing was official in those first few years, especially the first 2 years when they were just an independent. They just played teams from mostly Wisconsin and a few from Michigan. Just beat them all by 50.
Yeah, so it wasn't they were going to be what they ended up being. It was just they were just one of many.
And the catalyst is probably 1923, and this is when they are in what's, the NFL. they did their first stock sale just because they were going to fold. I mean, where every other team, like, you know, from these other small towns just is like, we're out of money. So they're just like, I guess we're going to go home now.
So
they got creative and did that first stock sale. And then by doing that, it just set everything in motion. It locked it in.
I don't mean to cut you off. So who is in charge of that stock sale? Who makes that decision? We should have a stock sale. Is there a board of people? Is it Curly Lambeau? Is it?
It was kind of like community generated. You know what I mean? And then just of them kind of getting creative. And then you have like kind of the famous businessmen from those days in Green Bay that I don't know if they just love football. I don't know if they saw the future economic impact, but they just did everything they could to, you know, what the big saying is, pass the hat. That's how because where they played, they didn't even have a fence, so they couldn't even charge admission.
Yeah, people are like, why would I pay? There's no fence.
Yeah, I'm not paying. So they pass the hat around and, you know, and then you get into like the Hungry Five, the businessmen that just like wouldn't let the team die. And
I would think that, like, just off my guesstimation, because like I'm just an idiot, a little buzzed up on a Tuesday afternoon, night, whatever it is. But I would think they just liked watching it. They probably went down there, drank some beer, had a good time. And they're like, we don't want this to end. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like, you ever been to a party and you run out of beer? What do? You pass the hat. We need some more beer.
One more beer run. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would think it's something like that. Like, I'm just guessing. I have no knowledge of anything. And, which I thought I did before we started this conversation. Then I realized I don't know anything. So, how does it go for like 1920? So who's the coach? Is there a coach like that's notable? At that time, like, because Curly Lambeau, he played, right? Like he
played, and his title was captain, which in our conventional sense we think of like team captain. That essentially meant head coach as well. They were credited in those first few years of having of an actual head coach. I don't even remember his name. It's so insignificant. No one honors that. They'd say you were coach in name only. Team captain was the coach back then. So yeah, he was a straight up player coach. And even in the NFL record books, they count his wins go toward his head coaching, history.
Oh, so they count his coaching as he was playing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's beautiful. See, that is the thing. Let's take a pause from like all this going forward. But like when people talk about like they don't want to count 1920 and 19 whatever when the championship started happening, like, dude, I call it BS. But at the same time, a lot of Packer fans will talk about 13-time champions, but they want to discredit the Bears for because the Bears had
garbage. That's a garbage take.
Yeah. So like you can't, if you're gonna count the Packers, count the Bears, count the Browns, count. Mm-hmm. I think the Cardinals did their thing back in the day at some point.
A little bit. They have this, for being the oldest team, they have the saddest history. My God.
You know, at some point you got to go on a run. You'd think.
You have to.
So when did Curly Lambeau, like, because first of all, where were they playing it in 1923? Like, where was that happening? So
their first ever stadium was the Hagermeister Park, which is awesome because it was owned by the brewery, which is the most Wisconsin, most Packers thing ever. Their first field was owned by a brewery. You know what I mean? It's just beautiful.
So where was it? Like, is there a place today that you could point in Green Bay that place was? Because like I grew up in Green Bay, I know it. Like, was that one of the parks I played at?
I know that it could be. There's Bellevue Park as well. There's a couple of them there that you can go to.
So Bellevue Park, is that? I think I know that park. I don't know. I used to play at a park over in Bellevue. It's probably not the same park because they probably built a few more since then. It might be like a trailer park by now. Who knows?
Right.
So, when did they move to East High School? Like, when did is that like crazy later in time? I don't want to jump too far ahead here.
No, you're good. I'd actually have to look up the exact date on that. You're talking, and then when they went to, they had, then eventually City Stadium and all that.
Yeah, because I grew up. First of all, shout out to everyone who's watching. Anybody who's listening to iTunes or Spotify or the podcast, whatever. I appreciate you. But we got to recognize some of the people commenting who are watching live. We got Barstool Medium Cat. I think he's a Bears fan. He trolls me on Twitter, but I respect it. You know what I mean? I respect it. And Mark Deaton, we got Megan over here, Megan Miller, trying to educate me. I love this. I feel like we're learning some stuff. All right, so Green Bay Packer Daily on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you should find him. He's really good people. He posts some good stuff, but he's tuning in. Anyways, so let's go back to it. All right.
Sure.
I think I got lost. So 1920. So they play with Curly Lambeau, playing, coaching at the same time. So at what point do they transfer? Like obviously his career ends at some point where he stops playing.
Yeah.
And then does he go to immediately to coach?
Yeah.
So do they win championships while he's just playing? Maybe I'm just buzzed up. I should know this stuff.
No, you're good. He won the first one of their initial three-peat, and then that was like the catalyst. That was the moment. Then he was like, okay, I'm just going to be coach, ambassador, and everything else.
So so technically he was like the owner. Like not really, because like he didn't have no yachts. He didn't have
right. Yeah.
But yeah, he was, because I doubt at that time it's like today. I own it. It's probably just like presumably like it is what it is, but I'm running it. So
yeah, I wouldn't call him owner, but you would call him like he was the Packers. You know what I mean? They were successful because of his. I call it his stupid bravery. You know what I mean? He had no fear. You know what I mean? To do anything. So then that's kind of one of the moments too that I want to get to. Like in the late 20s, he challenged the reigning NFL champs, the New York Giants, to a game in New York, and they're kind of like, "All right, who the heck are you?" You know. And then the Packers go there and actually beat them.
Oh, okay. So the Packers weren't like respected that way.
No, they were just. You got to remember, like it's only when looking back that we see how special the Packers are. In that time, they were just one of dozens of these tiny small town teams that came and went. You know, no one thought everyone on earth must have thought that they were going to fold next year.
Yeah, they were just enjoying it while they can, or laughing at it from a distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. No one thought they would actually be anything.
All right. Excuse me. I want to move on, but first I have to apologize because Barstool Medium Cats, he's a Packers fan, not a Goot fan. So I called him a Bears fan, and I actually thought he was for a while because on Twitter he tweets me. So sure. I dude, anyone I call a Bears fan that's not a Bears fan, I apologize for that. And yeah, we're probably gonna disagree on some stuff on that, but like I do apologize. So they challenge a giant. Dude, this is like David versus Goliath stuff, right?
Yeah, completely.
So they challenge the Giants. They go to the Giants, right? They go there?
1928, they go to New York, and the Giants are like, yeah, sure. We'll you can come here if you want.
It's like a scrimmage.
Yeah. And that's what set everything in motion, too, because, bam, they beat the Giants. The football world is like, okay, I guess this small-town team has something. And then they go and sign Johnny Blood, Mike Michalski, and Cal Hubbard. And they really – 2 linemen and a back. And then that's when they went on their three-peat, you know.
Because in the 30s, early 30s, they went on a run because I remember the signs. And was it like 29, 30, yep. 31? Yeah. So, yeah, so I know some stuff sometimes, people. So then they do that. So that kind of gains some respect. Do they get like in like the loop then, and like they're amongst like because like there were schedules, right? They probably weren't playing these guys regularly before.
Right.
Because they weren't respected that way.
Yeah, the NFL got more and more organized with every season that went by. Like there were years when one team would play 4 games and the other team would play 10 games. Like it was just madness. You know what I mean? And it just slowly got more and more organized to where everyone was playing the same amount of teams. You know, everyone was playing by the same rules and everything.
Yeah. So when did let's say when did like the 40s hit, right? When did like I don't know how am I don't know how to word this. I'm a little buzzed up here, people. So like because obviously Lombardi didn't come to like the 60s. So like what happened between like the 30s and 40s? Like as the NFL's building, how did the Packers keep it going? Like because like money wise, I don't know if it cost a lot of money back then to keep a team, but like what happened like after that first three-peat run? Like what happened forward?
Yeah, so after the first three-peat, they partway through it, they got Arnie Herber, also a Green Bay hometown kid. He was I call him their quarterback because we can make sense of things. He was a tailback, but
so that back then they didn't have.
They had quarterbacks, but they didn't really throw.
Yeah, so there's a guy that hands it off.
Yeah, this dude, he was in every conventional sense, he was their quarterback. You know, he was the one that the game's on the line. He's the one throwing the ball. He came to be, and they won, those 3 straight championships. And then I think the Bears won one. I think right after that, that rivalry going back and forth. And then what happens next? Don Hudson, baby.
That's so let me ask you this. I definitely want to get into Don Hudson. First of all, shout out to Trevor tuning in. Says, cheers, Mr. Ramage. Need to grab a beer sometime? Yo, I'm always down to drink some beer. But when was like that Bears rivalry? When was the first hint of it? Are we not there yet? Is that down the road a little bit?
We kind of glossed over a little bit, to be honest.
All right, so we got to step back. I hate the Bears, and everyone knows.
Right.
So like, how did that like confrontation type of thing start?
Yeah, so the very first time they ever played, it was in Chicago, and a bunch of Packers fans, rowdy people, went down to Chicago, took the train, and they actually went down the what's the Miracle Mile or Magical Mile or whatever the heck they call it.
I've never been there. They
right
don't like
downtown Chicago. I used to work like 2 blocks off it. I don't even remember what they call it. Whatever.
Doesn't matter.
But these Packers fans that took the train were drinking all night on the train. Then they're walking into hotels, into stores, just cheering. They probably weren't cheering "Go Pack Go," but they were cheering something similar to that.
Yeah.
And they're just getting all rowdy. And then the very first Packers-Bears game, occurs later that day. And one of my favorite players ever for Packers history, just for the sheer – everyone has to Google this guy, Cub Buck. It's amazing. He's got this goofy smile, this big pot belly, and he was an All-American at Wisconsin. He was a star for the Packers. Anyway, he gets his nose broken, and he gets punched right in the face in the first Packers-Bears game. That kind of set the whole thing kind of in motion. The Packers fans are down there getting rowdy. He gets his nose broken. I think it was 1924 was the first ever ejection in a NFL.
All right.
Yeah, and it was between both a Packer and Bear started fighting. And imagine how bad it would have had to get in 1924 that they both get ejected.
Yeah, I know. Like someone went to the hospital that day.
Maybe pulled a knife. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Like someone got shot.
Yeah.
Like, when that was like a real like a gun we got today, like someone filled it. They had powder. So that was a very first Bears Packers confrontation.
Yeah, right off the bat in the 20s, it was bitter, and the Bears crushed them too. The Bears did.
Let's gloss over that part, bud.
Hey, but the Packers bounced back. And I think by like 1933, the Packers had a lead in the all-time series or something like that. Like, they got it back.
Because I know that it was when they had the Packers recently within the last, 10 years, whatever it was. They got it back, and they're like, well, this is the first time they had a lead since the 30s or whatever.
Yeah, 1933, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where the Bears fans live. Besides 85, they go back to the 30s. So that was a very first Packers-Bears type of rivalry. So is there anything else that grows that rivalry until later years?
Yeah, I mean, it's the proximity, for one. And then it's that just fuels it. And then just think about the difference in lifestyles. You know what I mean? The average Green Bay or Wisconsinite, and then the average, freaking, I live in Chicago, during like organized crime. Like there's not 2 different worlds or more different worlds than.
Oh yeah, dude, you think about it. I never thought about that.
I think that fuels it more than anything. Like,
because 1920 Chicago is a whole different thing than 1920s Green Bay. I don't know a lot about 1920s Green Bay, but the reason is they didn't make movies about 1920 Green Bay. So I'm guessing 1920s Green Bay was a pretty normal type of town. And
to that point, I do have to give a shout out here. This is Cliff Crystals, the Packers official Packers historian.
I know that name.
Yeah. So, and that's with the caveat that everything I'm saying is not official by any means. Don't you know what I mean? Don't bet the house on it. But this guy, he's as official as it gets. Works for the team. He was a real newspaper man. His whole life. His theory about why the Packers remained, and one of the reasons why they didn't fold, like Akron and Racine and all the other small towns, is that in Green Bay in those days they didn't give a crap about prohibition. They kept the bars open.
So that's why I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, it's literally in your blood.
It's part of our heritage.
It saved the Packers because the other owners, they liked going to Green Bay because they could drink without fear of.
So so Green Bay didn't recognize prohibition.
Well, I guess I
mean, I wouldn't say. But not fully. You could drink at Green Bay pretty well. I used to hear stories of Al Capone used to come to Green Bay. I think it was Marinette, and used to go up there and he had a little spot. He used to get a little drink on.
Yeah,
Al Capone didn't need to come to Green Bay or Wisconsin to drink. I think he was doing all right by himself.
Yeah, maybe he was dropping off a couple dead bodies in the woods on the way.
Yeah, so that is When do we go to Green Bay East High School? Because that's really what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I think it was like mid-20s. I think like 1925.
When they went to play at. So was it a school back then, or was it just a field and then they built a school next to it?
I think it was. I think that's where the high school played too, right? I mean,
all right. So they were just like, "Hey, can we play here too?"
Yeah, I'd have to look into that officially, but that's the impression I got. Is that it was literally just like a high school, you know what I mean?
And I walked those halls, and I have no doubt that school was there in the 20s because there was a dip, under the steps. You would trip until sophomore year. All right, there's a dip there. I'm ready. But yeah, I remember going in that field, and I was not an athlete. I remember being in gym class, and my gym teacher would call me a squirrel. He'd be like, "Quit being a squirrel, Ramage. Do you understand the players that played on this field? And you're going to run across like a damn squirrel?" And you would tell me, the Packers were founded on this field, which isn't accurate, but I'll give him a pass because I get what he was getting at.
Yeah.
And they had a tracker on the field, and he would say, "Players ran this field every day. You can't run around it once." I was not an athlete, all right?
I like that guy. I want to meet that guy.
Yeah, he tried to motivate me, but I was like, there's no motivating me. I only run when I'm being chased really good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
So Don Hudson, we were at him when I got sidetracked, right? I get sidetracked easily, people. This might be a long one.
Sure.
So Don Hudson, he comes in, then what happens?
Oh man, everything. His first catch, right? That's the story. He goes for an 80-yard touchdown, and then it's just from there, it's just it's multifaceted though, because as much as I love Don Hudson, he's the NFL's GOAT. He is the Babe Ruth of football, and I will literally die on that hill. I don't care what anyone else says. He is the Babe Ruth. He played both ways.
And he doesn't get the credit for it.
No.
I know a lot of Packer fans know him, and the people know him, but he's not the Babe Ruth. People talk about him, and I think that's a great comparison.
The NFL markets its past horribly. Baseball, they're all about their ancient heroes. You know what I mean?
That's all they're about.
Well, yeah.
They skim past the whole '90s steroid era. They're like, we're not even going to put them in the Hall of Fame.
The most fun decade of baseball ever.
Yeah. So Don Hudson came in. So when Don Hudson came in, did he just light the league on fire? Was he it? Everyone's was he I don't even know, like Michael Jordan of basketball? Like, was he like, everyone's like, that's that man? Was he the GOAT?
Yeah, I think pretty quickly everyone realized what was happening, and I think Arnie Herber should get some credit here because he 3 times Arnie Herber led the NFL, and again they didn't pass much back then, but he led the NFL in completions, passing yards, and touchdowns and rating. I think in the same season, but at least the first 3. He did that 3 times. Dan Marino did that once, and I know it's like they didn't throw as much back then and all that, but.
Yeah. So
some credit to the situation.
That is a really good comparison because people forget like how great Dan Marino was. First of all,
oh my!
Like
Dan Marino, 5 years, unbelievable.
Yeah, like people don't realize. Like talk about Aaron Rodgers, talk about Drew Brees, Tom Brady, whoever you want to talk about. Dan Marino. When I was a kid, like how old are you?
31.
I'm 41, right? Which is weird that you know so much more than me. Well, you probably do on a lot of subjects, but whatever.
I don't know about that.
When I was a kid, Dan Marino was the GOAT. Like everyone, like people talk about Tom Brady in the rings and all these things, and I'm not a Tom Brady hater. I actually like Tom Brady. I think seems like a cool person. He's just been all over the place. But Tom Brady seems like a really nice guy. I follow him on everything, and I get it. Like I wish he would have stayed in the AFC last year.
Yeah.
But Dan Marino, when I was a kid, was the GOAT. Everyone said it. Everyone said Dan Marino. They didn't call him the GOAT, but they said he's the best ever.
48 touchdowns in 1984.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, everyone said he's the best. And the GOAT, the first time I heard the word GOAT, it was only describing Jerry Rice. For me as a kid, as far as I know, I'm not no historian, but I think the word GOAT was for Jerry Rice. It might have been Michael Jordan because I wasn't a huge basketball guy. Mm-hmm. So he might have been referred to as the GOAT as well. But for me, how I heard the word GOAT be like born, it was for Jerry Rice. But yeah, Dan Marino though, everyone said players, everyone was like Dan Marino, he's the best. And then Joe Montana, but they were like a lot of people said, hey, Jerry Rice is better than Joe Montana, but Joe Montana has a really good team, and he's a very, very extremely good quarterback. I mean, I'm not saying Joe Montana isn't nothing, but I'm saying that. But Dan Marino was respected like Joe Montana in the 80s.
Well, Joe Montana had everything around him, and Dan Marino had nothing around him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Dan Marino, I have to give a shout to Megan here because I know a lot of people feel the same way. As a Packers fan in Connecticut, I cringe when you talk about Brady because I actually do like Tom Brady. I don't like him this year. Like I wish he would have stayed in New England. I think he bailed and he left when the team was cap screwed, and he went to a team that could help him win another Super Bowl, and that's what happened. So, like, I'm not saying that Tom Brady is so almighty great and he's so all this and that. He's a very smart individual.
Yeah. Well, I just think he gets too much credit for his hilarious posts on social media, for one, because he's great on social media, but you know that he has a PR team.
He's got
I mean, come on. Yeah. He's not coming up with those.
No, if he is, then shout to him because I should get a social media team because I could have some fun, Joe.
Yeah, you'd be much less fun.
Yeah. So my guy Joey chimes in. Dan Fouts.
Oh my God, I was doing some research lately on a couple pieces. I will put out someday. I started working on them in quarantine. I was home every day, and then it's hard. You know, you work, you get tired, and I haven't finished them yet. But Dan Fouts, for a 4-year stretch, was maybe the best. I mean, one of the best quarterbacks ever. It was awesome. His career as a whole, but when he was in his prime, oh man, he was a fun quarterback.
Dude, all those guys. Anyways, we got off target here.
It's true.
Joey, don't get us off target. All right, we're not going to go through the whole Packers history, but let's get to the Lombardi era a little bit here. So Don Hudson. Don Hudson was an awesome player, right? He won some championships, did he?
Yeah, so 1936 is one of my favorite Packers teams ever because it was the first championship they won when
on DirecTV.
On DirecTV, you got it.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, it was the first championship that they won when it was an actual championship game. It wasn't just best record. It was when the NFL made the switch in 1933 to actually the championship game. It's like the Packers needed that win to legitimize those first championships to be like, fluke.
Can I ask you this? All right, because like obviously back when they converted AFC, NFC, and all those things, because obviously there was 2 leagues at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say it was a legit championship, so did they have like the 2 best records play each other, or like how did they determine that?
Yeah.
Whereas it's the 2 best records.
Yeah, before it was just best record, your crown champion, which is legit. That's the way they did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I get that.
Yeah. Then it was finally, you know what I mean, 2 best teams faced off the playoffs was 1 game, but it's still legit. I mean, you got to win that 1 game. You know.
Let me ask you this. First of all, I know my answer. It's Don Hudson. I don't think that you can compare Don Hudson to any wide receiver in this game. So they won those. All right. So like, let's fast forward a little bit, because who I really want to talk about is Paul Hornung. And actually, one day I want to have you come on, and I want to talk a whole show about Paul Hornung.
I've got an hour of Paul Hornung stuff.
So let's not jump that far, because I might have you on next week. We might go over to Paul Hornung. All right. So Don Hudson. So they won that first championship, and then what happened?
They were competitive as heck. You know, they had.
So what year is it? I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but
it was 1936. Was the first, and that's when they had Arnie Herber at his best. Johnny Blood was still there. You know, this team, the 1936 team is like one of the most epic teams because it's got a lot of those like ancient names that you've heard about. That was like the inflection point when they like intersected, and then they won that championship.
So Curly is still the coach?
Yeah.
All right. How long did he coach for?
How many seasons? Like 30 something, I want to say.
Shit, huh? Wow.
Yeah, he really was one of the greatest coaches in NFL history too. And people just kind of gloss over that too. But he was right up there with Hallis and all those guys in his day.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, when people talk about NFL coaches, people talk about Belichick, who I have the utmost respect for. I think Belichick's a genius, possibly a cheater, but whatever. I respect cheating too, you know.
He cheated a few times. What are you going to do? It's just part of the story.
But the fact that people don't respect Curly Lambeau as a coach, when he won, how much did Curly Lambeau win?
He won 6 world championships, man.
Yeah, so like I don't buy this whole, well, that was then. They only had this many teams, whatever. He won it. He won in the league he was in. If it wasn't for him, Bill Belichick might not exist. If it wasn't for him, the NFL might not exist. So, like, show people respect who built it and who did it at the highest level of at their time. I guarantee you, you know, Frank from Tennessee can talk all the smack he wants about Curly Lambeau. I guarantee you Bill Belichick isn't. I guarantee you Don Shula isn't. And all these other great coaches, I guarantee they're showing guys like Curly Lambeau respect, Vince Lombardi, like all these guys. Like, dude, they were doing it before everybody, and they helped build the league to what it is.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And you can only compare guys against their era.
Yeah.
As soon as you start comparing guys like someone from the 30s to someone from the 90s, you've lost it.
Dude,
you can't.
You can't even compare Aaron Rodgers to Bart Starr.
No,
you can't even compare Aaron Rodgers to Dan Marino, let alone Bart Starr. Like, you can't compare 2000s to the 80s. Like, you know, 80s pass interference, like, is he bleeding? Like, no, he's good. Brett Favre had more concussions, and they were like, he's like, where's my helmet? Like, you're wearing it. Get out there.
Yeah. Think about him trying to do his Iron Man streak in today's NFL.
Dude, no.
He would have ended after 1 year.
Yeah, because they don't let you. And I respect it because we know more now about brain. And I want Aaron Rodgers to raise his grandkids, or not raise them, but like visit them and know their names. Brett Favre talks about not knowing his grandkids' names, and you hear other players are all messed up. It's a game. I want them to like know who they're talking to when they're 67.
Yeah, but no doubt.
Yeah. So where do we go from there? Where are we at? We're in the 40s, right?
Yeah. So you're talking about when Don Hudson won. You know what he did when he was with the team. They won in 36, 39, and 44. So he won 3 championships. He won 2 MVP awards. I think it was the Joe F. Carr Trophy. He was the commissioner back then. But he won 2 MVPs too. So, I mean, he's the first Packer to ever win like a legitimate NFL sanctioned MVP award, and he won back-to-back years too.
So, how long did he play for?
I think he played either 10 or 11 seasons. It was a short career. I think he played from 35 to 45, so whatever that is, 11 seasons, I guess.
So the Packers had a slouch year until the Lombardi years? Is that what happened?
Oh, yeah. So it's conventionally called like the wilderness is what they call those years. We define it at our site as the only time in Packers history that can be described as after Lambeau and before Lombardi. You know what I mean? It's that empty space between.
And they were they were playing at Green Bay East High School this whole time because they went into Lambeau Field. That site, anyways. Well, actually, it was always the same. I mean, they remodeled it at some point. But when did they move into Lambeau Field?
57.
And it wasn't called Lambeau Field right away, right? It was called Emmett Field.
New City Stadium.
Oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, so
they didn't put too much thought into the name. I got to be honest.
No, they're like, it's new. We're in a city, clearly a stadium. You know what's funny?
I don't see why this is hard for you people to comprehend.
Yeah, like I don't know who could find a better name than this. So I worked at PDQ Car Wash, right?
Nice.
And it's about 3 blocks from Lambeau Field, 4, whatever. I remember because the owner's name is Red Lewis. And I remember people telling me the story. I knew him. I was a worker, so it wasn't like he was telling me stories. You know, I was a supervisor, whatever. Assistant manager, you might call me. No big deal. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just telling you about the story. But people said that because he had a car wash on the east side of Green Bay, and he has them all over now. But people said he built that car wash he bought that site for the car wash it's about 4 or 5 blocks, whatever it is, from Lambeau Field. It's over, I think there's an Applebee's across the street, a Wendy's over there. It's all that, it's right past the East Town Mall.
Sure.
But he bought that site when Lambeau Field was built because he knew that city, that part of the town was going to build up. And he didn't want to get too close because he thought it might be like Chicago, they said, and it would get so congested. And, you know, he was worried about, so he bought it just far enough away that people could actually go in there and get their car washed. And actually, I worked there. And first of all, it's genius to buy he bought land. He didn't build the car wash for years later. But Packer players would go in there all the time.
Sure.
Like I've told this story a few times on my show. But like Antonio Freeman, Brett Favre's wife, Deanna. I've met a lot of Amont Green, Robert Brooks. I don't know about Robert Brooks. He was probably in there. I don't remember him.
Just claim it.
Yeah, Gilbert Brown though. Gilbert Brown was the nicest guy. He would sign anything.
Sweet,
it was our policy. You couldn't ask for an autograph.
Sure.
But Gilbert Brown was like, I'm giving autographs. I don't care about your policy. I'm gonna pull out and I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna sign anything you damn well want. But Ahmad Carroll, I don't know. A lot of people probably don't remember him, and you probably shouldn't. But he was such a dick. I'll just say, he thought who the hell he was. And he had like 6'4" Impala, straight out of a Dr. Dre video, which is a really nice car. It was all nice. It bounced and all the things. And but he was so cocky. And I remember because I'm a Packer fan. Like I was a Packer fan back then. I followed the Packers. And I was like, bro, you're not that good for this attitude you're giving me. Like I get it. I'm the guy who's cleaning your rims. But like Amont Green was just here.
Yeah.
And he was nice.
Yeah. He probably had to sell that car 2 years later. So.
Yeah, because... Dude, so many guys. Like, Amon Green, I'll just say, he was so nice. Gilbert Brown, so nice. I have this funny story about Antonio Freeman. There was, like, a lot of kids worked at the car wash. So, this kid's, like, 15, you know, barely got his, like, work permit. And Antonio Freeman, he holds up his little card. Yeah, your car's ready. Antonio Freeman walks up to him, and he says, wow, you're Antonio Freeman. He said, yes, I am. And he got his truck and he drove away, which I about died laugh watching it. But I tell that story. I told that story in a few different podcasts. But Antonio Freeman was not mean. Like, he was not an asshole. That was just funny. Like, what was he going to say? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of whatever. But he was very nice to all the employees that went there. He was like, hey, how you doing? Shook hands. Most of the players were. Like,
that's cool.
Brett Favre's wife. Most people didn't bother her, but everyone knew who she was.
Sure.
They're like, hello, ma'am. Like, treated her like a goddess. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure she paid for a car wash.
That's as close as a goddess of Green Bay there could ever be.
Like, I've said it before, because, first of all, anybody who's watching or listening, next week, I'm going to have you come back on, and we're going to pick back up from, I don't want to go too long, and I really want to hear about Paul Hornung, get to the Lombardi years, and we're going to move on. But next week, we're definitely going to pick this up. But, yeah, like, you're a historian type of guy. Brett Favre is, in my opinion, the most loved player from a city in NFL history. I don't think Aaron Rodgers, and I love Aaron Rodgers. I think I love him. I actually like Aaron Rodgers more than Brett Favre, my personal belief, as of right now. And not that I hate Brett Favre, but he went to play for the Vikings, so it diminished him a little bit. But I'm just saying, is like, I'm not being biased and like, oh, I'm the biggest Brett Favre fan in the world, so I'm going to say this. But Brett Favre at his peak, like, think about like when his dad passed, and I'm not saying I don't say that to be like goofy or because that's a horrible thing to pinpoint, but like the love he got from the league, from the Raiders, from the Raider fans,
from the black hole.
Yeah, dude, they loved, everyone loved it. John Madden, like, he loved Brett. Like, oh, Brett Favre out here. He's like, he's gonna throw the ball and they're gonna catch it. I'm not good at impressions, but John Madden loved some Brett. I love John Madden. I love that dude.
There's no better memories up here than John Madden, like calling like a Thanksgiving Day, Packers Lions game. Like, oh my god, that's as good as it gets.
And think about it, because I grew up. I was born in 1979. My kids always make fun of, you're a 70s baby. You're old as shit. No, but like, I grew up, like, my neighbor was a Bears fan, and he would roast me. The Packers were horrible. My uncles and my cousins, my older cousins, they used to bet on like first downs because the Packers were horrible. So like when the Packers in like 92, 93, like 94, they started coming up, and then now you have John Madden, who was like the pinnacle of football, to me at least. Oh, yeah. He was like that man. I didn't know he was a coach at that time. He was just
he was just a video game guy.
He was like a god to football. And now he was talking about my quarterback like he was the best thing that's ever happened in the NFL. And it was just the coolest thing. Well, and Brett Favre was a god, bro.
I mean, John Madden understood the entertainment aspect of football. You know what I mean? Like he understood that it's an entertainment product first and foremost, and there was no one more entertaining than Favre. I mean, ever.
Dude, he was just running around. He was like Madden. Yeah, he would just run around and then chuck it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I got a spam call coming in. It's like when it says spam risk, like, oh, I'm definitely gonna answer that one. No, but like that's my thing. It's like, dude, Brett Favre to me is the most iconic, the most loved player in NFL history at his peak. Not now. I think a lot of that love is lost. I don't hate Favre. I just don't love him. Like, I used to go to bat like Brett Favre was the best all time. Like, I would argue when Brady was young, but like Brady is better than Favre, and Favre was old then. I was like, go to hell. Brett Favre is the best to ever play, and I don't think that now. I don't think
he had the best prime.
Yeah, I think he was the most fun. He was the most, and like I say, I'm not dogging on him now. I'm just saying that, like, I think Aaron Rodgers, to me, I would take Aaron Rodgers over Favre, prime versus prime, but entertainment wise,
yeah.
I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying
that's a tough one for me. Like, career, Aaron Rodgers had the better career. It's not debatable to me. I mean, it's by a mile. But prime, from that 4 or 5 year stretch, I go Favre.
Yeah. See, the only thing with me is Favre would he gave it up too much. Like, he was like, I won't say that joke, but I'm not going to go that route. We're a sponsored show, people. Shout out to Quick Trip. So I'm going to keep that joke to myself. But, like, he gave the ball away a little too much. And not every year. He really played really well with the Vikings. He had years with the Packers that he played well. And when he went to the Jets, I supported the hell out of him. But
I watched every Jets game that year.
Yeah, I told people. Look, it says my heart rate's too high. I get too excited. My Apple Watch is like, calm your ass down. I'm just doing a podcast. I'm not running. I'm fat. But, yeah, but Favre was fun. When he went to the Jets, I was good. But I told people, I said, when he went to the Vikings, like, if my son got drafted at the Vikings or the Bears, Like, I'd support him, but I'm not wearing that damn jersey. Like, and I said I didn't support Favre though when he went to the Vikings. I made a lot of jokes. People got mad at me. I lost friends over it. Like, for real.
Yeah.
People were like, but like I won't support someone playing for the Vikings. When he was done, I was like, I'm over it. It took me a couple years because I felt like he would at that time. Not now. I'm over it. At that time, I felt like he was taking a jab at the fans, even though it was more Ted Thompson than the fans. But I love Aaron Rodgers. If he went to play for the Bears, he's dead to me.
For a couple years.
Yeah, for a couple years. And I'm not mad at Jamal Williams playing for the Lions.
No.
I'm not mad at HaHa Clan-Dix, who was my guy, who I love me some HaHa. He played for the Bears. I'm not mad at him because the Packers traded him to the Redskins or the Washington football team.
He didn't choose it.
Yeah. So I just felt like Favre, he did it on purpose. And I don't even fault him because I might have done the same thing. Because I feel like the Packers, I'm not sure that they did him dirty, but he definitely felt they did. So I don't know. I don't hold a grudge about it now. I don't care. But at that time, I did. I had some feelings for Brett. People were like, well, what if Brett Favre pulled up in a car next to you at a red light? What would you say? And I remember at this time, this is when he played for the Vikings, I said I'd tell him to go to hell. And I meant that so fiercely. Not now. I'll be like, yo, what's up? I hope all the good things for Brett and then, like, you know, cut the grass, do all the. That's all they talked about back in the day. He's gonna go. He's gonna retire. He's gonna cut grass. Like, bro, I cut grass every damn weekend. No one gives a shit. No, but hey, everyone. Hey, I appreciate everyone tuning in. What's up, Mark? Mark said, "Look at Matt doing big with the smartwatch." Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out my watch, Mark. All right. No, but we got our guy Joey in here. He's old, so he's talking about Lynn Dickey. Lynn Dickey was passing great to in the early 80s. Yo, we're definitely gonna get into that. Yo, Lynn Dickey.
Heck yeah,
man. I don't remember that. I do because that was when I was coming up. But like I don't remember the players at that time because I was so young. I was born in '79, so but I definitely remember Lynn Dickey. Like, I see the highlights, I see other things, but it just, you don't see him as much as like Bart Starr because, you know, he won stuff.
Yeah, you gotta win.
Yeah, but like I got much love for Lynn Dickey or whatever. Yeah. But anyways, people, everyone. So let me get this banner up here real quick. Everyone, make sure to subscribe. You don't have to share, retweet because that would be pointless. We're done now. But subscribe on YouTube if you're wherever you're watching. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, or whatever podcast situation, be sure to subscribe or follow, or however it works wherever you're watching. But Daniel Zillmer from PackersHistory.com. Dude, hey, I was a little worried, Daniel, when I had you on. I was like, hopefully he can talk into a mic. Hopefully he can do that. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but a lot of people you have them on and they're not good. They end up being as good as I am. I'm like, well, I need someone a little better than me. But you ended up being a little bit better than me, so I appreciate it. We got to do this next week. We'll catch up when maybe Paul Hornung was drafted.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about because I know the Paul Hornung era was like, he was almost like, I'm good, until Lombardi came along. But anyways, we don't want to get into that yet.
We'll save it. You got to save it.
Yeah, we got to save it. But hey, I appreciate everyone for tuning in, whether you're watching on Facebook, whether you're watching on YouTube. And if you missed the whole thing, you can watch back on YouTube or Facebook. Also, iTunes, Spotify, and all the podcast places tomorrow. And I truly appreciate you. Everyone check out PackersHistory.com. You can search all types of stuff. You can do all the things over there. Get knowledge. Get smarter. You know, grow as a people. You know what I mean? All right. Matt Ramage Show. Shout out to Quick Trip. Go, you know, before we get out of here real quick one time, you know, you don't have to go to fast food, people. You don't got to go to all the fast food restaurants. Take yourself to Quick Trip. They got you hooked up. They got chicken. They got macaroni and cheese. They got a hot ham and Swiss sandwich, which is delicious. They got like barbecue stuff. They got, dude, Quick Trip's got everything. Don't ruin yourself going to fast food, people. Take yourself to Quick Trip. Tell them Matt Ramage sent you, baby.